Hi, family, and welcome again to XhosaChick TV with me, Zoliswa. So it's 2022, and welcome back to Thinking Things Tuesday. As you all know, on XhosaChick TV, on Tuesdays we do Thinking Things Tuesdays, which is all about current affairs. Oh gosh, there's so much going on when it comes to current affairs in South Africa. So we haven't even started the year yet, and we ended the year on a bit of a somber moment, as we all know that Archbishop Desmond Tutu passed away. So that's how we ended 2021. And as if that was not enough, we said hello to 2022 with burning down of the parliament. So there has been a fire at the South African Parliament, and it's been going on. It started on I'm not sure what day is it. It started on Sunday, and then it flared up again on Monday, which was the 4th or the 3rd of January. So we were there. Happy New Year, everybody. And thank you for all the support in 2021. So hopefully this year we'll be together again and we'll get things going. Is without wasting any time. So today we are going to look at Desmond Tutu, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and you all know he passed away on the 26th of December 2021, and from ever since then, the announcement of his passing and everything, the media just went frenzy with everything. So we are going to look at the life of Desmond. Let's see what we see here. What does most where we get our information. It's Desmond below Tutu. So we're going to see all the information which we can get about his life and so on. So I normally trust Wikipedia because sometimes even our news do let us down when it comes to information. So here is as like we did before with de Klerk last time. It seems like in this channel we've been wearing a lot of black Zilika's kind of channels. So, and again, somebody passed away. We are on in blacks, and then let's find out what's Desmond Tutu all about. It says here, Desmond below Tutu, 7 October 1931. So he was born on the 7th of October 1931, and he passed away on the 26th of December 2021. Was a South African Anglican bishop and theologian known for his work as an anti-apartheid and human rights activist. He was Bishop of Johannesburg from 1985 to 1986, and then Archbishop of Cape Town from 1986 to 1996. In both cases being the first Black African to hold the position. Theologically, he sought to fuse ideas from Black theology with African theology. Tutu was born of mixed Xhosa and Motswana heritage to a poor family in Klerksdorp, South Africa. Entering adult, he trained as a teacher and married Nomalizo Lee Shenxane in 1955, with whom he had 4 children, including Mpho Tutu van Furth. In 1960, he was ordained as an Anglican priest, and in 1962, he moved to the United Kingdom to study theology at King's College London. In 1966, he returned to Africa, teaching at the Federal Theological Seminary in South Africa, and then the University of Botswana, Lesotho, and Swaziland. In 1972, he became the Theological Education Fund's Director for Africa, a position based in London but necessitating regular tours of the African continent. Back in Southern Africa in 1975, he served first as Dean of St. Mary's Cathedral in Johannesburg and then as Bishop of Lesotho. In 1978 to 1985, Tutu served as the General Secretary of the South African Council of Churches. He emerged as one of the most prominent opponents of South Africa's apartheid system for racial segregation and white minority rule. Although warning the National Party government that anger and apartheid would lead to racial violence, as an activist he stressed non-violent protest and foreign economic pressure to bring about universal suffrage. In 1985, Tutu became Bishop of Johannesburg, and in 1986 the Archbishop of Cape Town, the most senior position in Southern Africa's Anglican hierarchy. In this position, he emphasized a consensus-building model of leadership and oversaw the introduction of female priests. Also in 1986, he became president of the All Africa Conference of Churches, resulting in further tours of the continent. After President F. de Klerk released the anti-apartheid activist Nelson Mandela from prison in 1990, and the pair led negotiations to end apartheid and introduced multiracial democracy. Tutu assisted as a mediator between rival black factions. After the 1994 general election resulted in a coalition government headed by Mandela, the latter settled Tutu to chair the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to investigate past human rights abuses committed by both pro and anti-apartheid groups. Following apartheid's fall, Tutu campaigned for gay rights and spoke out on a wide range of subjects, among them his support of Palestinians in Israel-Palestine conflict, alongside his simultaneous belief in Israel's right to exist. His position to the Iraq War and the criticism of South African President Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma. In 2010, he retired from public life. As Tutu rose to prominence in 1970s, different socio-economic groups and political classes hold a wide range of views about him, from critical to admiring. He was popular among South Africa's black majority and was internationally praised for his work involving anti-apartheid activism, for which he won the Nobel Peace Prize and other international awards. He also compiled several books of his speeches and sermons. Early child life. Childhood from 1931 till 1950. Desmond Mpilo Tutu was born on 7 October 1931 in Klerksdorp, in northwest South Africa. His mother, Ellen Dorothy Mafursek Matlare, was born to a Motswana family in Boksburg. His father, Zakaria Zelilo Tutu, was from the Amamfengu branch of Xhosa and grew up in Tsuwa, Eastern Cape. At home, the couple spoke the Xhosa language. Having married in Boksburg, they moved to Klerksdorp in the late 1950s, living in the city's native location or black residential area since renamed Makondent. Zakaria worked as the principal of a Methodist primary school, and the family lived in the mud brick schoolmaster's house in the yard of the Methodist mission. The Tutus were poor. Describing his family, Tutu later related that although we weren't affluent, we were not destitute either. Tutu had an older sister, Sylvia Funeka, who called him Pilo, meaning life, name given to him by his paternal grandmother. He was his parents' second son. Their firstborn boy, Sipho, had died in infancy. Another daughter, Gloria Lindiwe, was born after him. Tutu was sickly from birth. Polio resulted in the atrophy of his right hand, and on one occasion he was hospitalized with serious burns. Tutu had a close relationship with his father, although was angered at the latter's heavy drinking, during which he would sometimes beat his wife. The family were initially Methodist, and Tutu was baptized into the Methodist Church in June 1932. They subsequently changed denominations, first to the African Methodist Episcopal Church and then to Anglican Church. In 1936, the family moved to Ching, where Zachariah became principal of a Methodist church school. There, Tutu studied his primary education, learned Afrikaans, and became the server at St. Francis Anglican Church. He developed a love of reading, particularly enjoying comic books and European fairy tales. In Ching, his parents had a third son, Tamsanqa, who also died in infancy. Around 1941, Tutu's mother moved to the Witwatersrand to work as a cook at Ezenzeleni Blind Institute in Johannesburg. Tutu joined her in the city, living in Roodepoort West. In Johannesburg, he attended a Methodist primary school before transferring to the Swedish boarding school SBS in the St. Agnes Mission. Several months later, he moved with his father to Ermelo, Eastern Transvaal. After 6 months, the Jew returned to Roodepoort West, where Tutu resumed his studies at SBS, pursuing his interest in Christianity. At the age of 12, he underwent confirmation at St. Mary's Church, Roodepoort. Tutu ended the Johannesburg Bantu High School in 1945, where he excelled academically. There, he joined a school rugby team, developing a lifelong love of the sport. Outside of school, he earned money selling oranges and as a caddy for white golfers. To avoid the expense of a daily train commuting to school, he briefly lived with family nearer to Johannesburg before moving back in with his parents when they relocated to Mansfield. He then returned to Johannesburg, moving to Anglican Hostel near Church of Christ the King in Sophia Town. He became a server at the church and came under the influence of its priest Trevor Huddleston. Later biographer Shirley de Boyle suggests that Huddleston was the greatest single influence in Tutu's life. The first time he met Huddleston, the radical white priest doffed his hat to Tutu's mother, a gesture almost unheard of in apartheid South Africa. In 1947, Tutu contracted tuberculosis and was hospitalized in Rietfontein for 18 months, during which he was regularly visited by Hudson. In the hospital, he underwent circumcision to mark his transition to manhood. He returned to school in 1949 and took his national exams in late 1950, gaining a second-class pass. College and teaching career, 1951 and 1955. Although Tutu secured admission to study medicine at the University of Witwatersrand, his parents could not afford the tuition fees. Instead, he turned toward teaching, gaining a government scholarship to start a course at Pretoria Bantu Normal College, a teacher training institution, in 1951. There he served as a treasurer of the Student Representative Council, helped to organize the Literacy and Dramatic Society, and chaired the Cultural Debating Society. During one debating event, he first met the lawyer and future president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela. They would not encounter each other again until 1990. At the college, Tutu attained his Transvaal Bantu teacher diploma, having gained advice about taking exams from the activist Robert Sobukwe. He had also taken 5 correspondence courses provided by the University of South Africa, UNISA, graduating the same class as future Zimbabwean leader Robert Mugabe. In 1954, he began teaching English at Madibane High School. The following year, he transferred to the Klerksdorp High School, where he taught English and history. He began quoting Nomalizo Li Shenxane, a friend of his sister Gloria, who was studying to become a primary school teacher. They were legally married at Klerksdorp Native Commissioners Court in June 1955 before undergoing a Roman Catholic wedding ceremony at the Church of Mary Queen of Apostles. Although he was an Anglican, Tutu agreed to the ceremony due to Lee's Roman Catholic faith. The newlyweds lived at Tutu's parental home before renting their own 6 months later. Their first child, Trevor, was born in April 1956. A daughter, Tandeka, appeared 16 months later. The couple worshipped at St. Paul's Church, where Tutu volunteered as a Sunday school teacher, assistant choir master, church counselor, lay preacher, and subdeacon. While outside of the church, he also volunteered as a football administrator for a local team. Joining the clergy 1956 to 1966. In 1953, the white minority National Party government introduced Bantu Education Act to further the apartheid system of racial segregation and white domination. Disliking the act, Tutu and his wife left teaching profession. With Huddleston's support, Tutu chose to become an Anglican priest. In January 1956, his request to join the Ordnance Guild was turned down due to his debts. These were then paid off by the wealthy industrialist Harry Oppenheimer. Tutu was admitted to St. Peter's Theological College in Rosettenville, Johannesburg, which was run by the Anglican Community of the Resurrection. The college was residential, and Tutu lived there while his wife moved to train as a nurse in Sekhukhune, and his children lived with his parents in Montseville. In August 1960, his wife gave birth to another daughter, Naomi. At the college, Tutu studied the Bible, Anglican doctrine, church history, and Christian ethics, earning a Licenciation of Theology degree and winning the Archbishop's annual essay prize. The college's principal, Godfrey Ponson, wrote that Tutu's exceptional knowledge and intelligence and is very industrious. At the same time, he shows no arrogance, mixes in well, and is popular. He has obvious gifts of leadership. During his years at the college, there had been an intensification anti-apartheid activism, and as well as a crackdown against it, including the Sharpeville massacre of 1960. Tutu and his other trainees did not engage in anti-apartheid activism. He later noted they were in some ways a very apolitical bunch. In December 1960, Edward Paget ordained Tutu as an Anglican priest at St. Mary's Cathedral. Tutu was then appointed assistant curate in St. Albans Parish, Benoni, where he was reunited with his wife and children, and in two-thirds of what his white counterparts were given. In two-thirds of what his white counterparts were given. In 1962, Tutu was transferred to St. Philip's Church in Thokoza, where he was placed in charge of the congregation and developed a passion for pastoral ministry. Many in South Africa's white-dominated Anglican establishment felt the need for more indigenous Africans in position of ecclesiastical authority. To assist in this, Alfred Stubbs proposed that Tutu train as a theology teacher at King's College London, KCL. Funding was secured from International Missionary Council's Theological Education Fund, TEF, and the government agreed to give the Tutus permission to move to Britain. They did so in September in 1962. At KLC's theology department, Tutu studied under theologians like Dennis Nynahem, Christopher Evans, Sidney Evans, Jo- Godfrey Parenda, and Eric Maskell. In London, the Tutus felt liberated, experiencing a life free from South Africa's apartheid and past laws. They later noted that there is racism in England, but we were not exposed to it. We were also impressed by the freedom of speech available in the country, especially at Speaker's Corner in London's Hyde Park. The family moved into the curate's flat behind the Church of St. Alban the Martyr in Golders Green, where Tutu assisted Sunday services. The first time that he had ministered to a white congregation, it was in the flat that the daughter Mpho Andrea Tutu was born in 1963. Tutu was academically successful, and his tutors suggested that he convert to an honors degree, which entailed he's also studying Hebrew. He received his degree from Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, in a ceremony held at the Royal Albert Hall. Wow. Tutu then secured a TFE grant to study for a master's degree. He studied for his degree from October 1965 until September 1966, completing his dissertation on Islam in West Africa. During this period, the family moved to Blechney in Surrey, where Tutu worked as the assistant curate of St. Mary's Church. In the village, he encouraged cooperation between his Anglican parishioners and the local Roman Catholic and Methodist communities. Tutu's time in London helped him to jettison any bitterness to whites and feelings of racial inferiority. He overcame his habit of automatically deferring to whites. Career during apartheid. Ooh, this is a lot. So, career during apartheid. Teaching in South Africa and Lesotho in 1966-1972. In 1966, Tutu and his family moved to East Jerusalem, where he studied Arabic and Greek for 2 months at St. George's College. They then returned to South Africa, settling in Alice, Eastern Cape. In 1967, the Federal Theological Seminary, FETSEM, had recently been established there as an amalgamation of training institutions from different Christian denominations. At FETSEM, Tutu was employed teaching doctrine, the Old Testament, and Greek. Lee became its library assistant. Tutu was the college's first black staff member, and the campus allowed a level of racial mixing which was rare in South Africa. The Tutus sent their children to a private boarding school in Swaziland, thereby keeping them from South Africa's Bantu education syllabus. Tutu joined a Protestant group, the Church Unit Commission, serves as a delegate at Anglican Catholic Conversations, and began publishing in academic journals. He also became Anglican chaplain to the neighboring University of Fort Hare. In an unusual move for the time, Tutu invited female as well as male students to become servers during the Eucharist. He joined student delegations to meetings of the Anglican Students' Federation and the University Christian Movement, and was broadly supportive of the Black Consciousness movement that emerged from South Africa's 1960s student Miller, although did not share its view on avoiding collaboration with whites. In August 1968, he gave a seminar comparing South Africa's situation with that in the Eastern Bloc, likening anti-apartheid protests to the recent Prague Spring. In September 40, students held a sit-in protest over the university administration's policies. After they were surrounded by police with dogs, Tutu waded into crowd to pray with the protest. This was the first time that he had witnessed state power used to suppress dissent, so forcing the police to refrain from further action until the tension subsided. How far are we? I don't think we're gonna read all of this, it's too much. So this is some just part of what Tutu's life is all about. So I don't think we're gonna read all of this, it's too much, people. So if you all want to know more about Desmond Tutu's life, you know where to go. Google is here for you. And also all the different news all over the world actually doing what you call it, we're all broadcasting Tutu's funeral and so on. So let's just say, because apparently I'm not sure when it came to the funeral, I heard something quite interesting that he was actually acclimated. I don't know if I'm saying this right. So apparently it's a different way of burying now. Instead of being cremated, now you get to be dissolved with water. I'm not sure how that works, so I'm trying to figure out now. So let's hear about the funeral, but there's too much going on when it comes to Dudu. So let's go. What is acclamation? There's so much I can't. If there's so much I can't read everything. I'll finish tomorrow, and I'm trying to do a bit of what is the process of acclimation. Okay, the process, also known as alkaline hydrolysis, consists of cremation by water rather than fire. So that's what it says. The body of the deceased is immersed for 3 to 4 hours in a mixture of water and strong alkali potassium hydroxide in pressurized metal cylinder and heated to around 150 degrees Celsius. Oh wow. So what is acclimation? Ashbridge requested flameless cremation. So this is what I was talking about. So this one is just different. Instead of using water, instead of using fire like your cremation, this one you use water and your alkaline and so on to dissolve the body for like 4-5 hours in 150 degrees heat. So I didn't know. That was the first time I heard about acclimation, when I heard that Archbishop Desmond Tutu has been acclimated. I think I just made the word acclimated. So acclimated. So I guess. So I was curious. So what was that all about? I think actually it's quite interesting. It's like a new way of burying, because you already don't have enough space, and I don't think other people want to burn. Okay, what is cremation? Archbishop Desmond Tutu requested flameless cremation. Archbishop Desmond Tutu has been laid to rest in Cape Town after a state funeral at a private ceremony interfered behind the pulpit from where he once denounced bigotry and racial tyrant. The Archbishop, who was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1984, has been praised around the world for his role in helping transform South Africa with his non-violent opposition to white minority rule. He died at the age of 90. He was outspoken about protecting the environment, giving speeches and writing articles about the need to take action to combat climate change, and requested his body be acclimated. Yes, acclimated, we were right. There is such a word as acclimated. Considered to be a greener alternative to cremation. What is cremation? Cremation is a cremation method using water that funeral parlors are treating as environmentally friendly. The process, also known as alkaline hydrolysis, consists of cremation by water rather than fire. The body of the deceased is immersed for 3 to 4 hours in a mixture of water and strong alcohol like potassium hydroxide in a pressurized metal cylinder and heated to around 150 degrees Celsius. The process liquefies everything except for the bones, which are then dried in an oven reduced to white dust and placed in an urn. The water can be processed through normal wastewater treatment facilities. How long has it been around? First developed in the early 1990s as a way to discard the bodies of animals used in experiments. The method was later used to dispose of cows during the mad cow disease epidemic, USA-based research Philip R. Olson says. In the 2000s, US medical schools used cremation to dispose of donated human cadavers before the practice made its way into the funeral industry. He wrote in a 2014 paper, the process also used to dispose of animal carcasses in slaughterhouses, where it is considered to be more efficient and hygienic. With burial space in urban areas worldwide becoming increasingly scarce and expensive, cremation has obvious attractions. However, like human composting, a technique of composting bodies with layers of organic material like leaves or wood chips, cremation is still authorized only in certain countries. In South Africa, which died, no legislation governs the practice. So that's what cremation is. So you, instead of dying by fire, you die by water now. Not you die, you just get dissolved by water. You get dissolved by water this time around. So that's what happened to Desmond Tutu. He was cremated. So that's how we ended 2021 with saying goodbye to Archbishop Desmond Tutu. I tried to read some of the bits of his story, but if you could see the information in front of me, it will take like a really 2 hours to finish reading the whole thing. So we are not there. And we all know that the whole world, everybody from your celebrities, your political figures, your kings, your queens, they were all sending their condolences. Even your normal people, there was a long line in Cape Town going to the Anglican church where his coffin was laid to rest, for people just wanting to view the coffin, because I think the coffin was closed, it was not open. So there were a lot of people which went around to go view the coffin and everything. So I didn't go. Don't ask me why. Maybe this year we'll try to be friends of the church. We'll see. We don't really have a good relationship with the church. The church is too judgmental sometimes. Anyway, we're not there. The next thing which happened was, let's look at the burning down of the parliament. So as I said that I think on today, it's Tuesday, on Sunday when we woke on Sunday, the Parliament of South Africa burned down. Okay, let's see what we have now. Crusading scales. Because I'm trying to find out, and they already have somebody which they've arrested with, and the person will appeared in court today regarding the burning of the parliament. It says this is okay, Andrew Meldrum and Gerald Imrai, January 2000, January 2, 2022. I don't know which year I am in. And this is AP News. It says Cape Town, South Africa, AP. A major fire ripped through South Africa's 130-year-old Parliament complex on Sunday, gutting offices and causing some ceilings to collapse at a site that has hosted some of the country's pivotal moments. As firefighters struggled to tame the blaze, a dark plume of smoke and flames rose high into the air above the southern city of Cape Town. Around 70 firefighters were still battling the fire hours after it started in the early morning. Cape Town's Fire and Rescue Service spokesman Jermaine Scaller said some were lifted up on a crane to spray water on the blaze from above. No injuries have been reported, and Parliament itself had been closed for the holidays. Visiting the scene, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said a person was being held and is being questioned by police in connection with the blaze. Police later confirmed a 51-year-old man had been detained. The fire is currently in the National Assembly Chambers. Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure Patricia de Lille told reporters as smoke billowed behind her from the roof of this historic white building with grand entrance columns. This is a very sad day for democracy, for Parliament. It's the home of our democracy. We have not been able to contain the fire in the National Assembly, she added. Part of the coil ceilings have collapsed. Officials say the fire started in the old Assembly building, which was built in 1884 and originally housed the South African Parliament but is now used for offices. It spread to the newer National Assembly building built in 1980s, which is where the Parliament now sits. Authorities feared extensive damage to both buildings, which have stark white facades, elaborate roof linings and majestic columns, now all obscured by flames and smoke. There were also fears that priceless artifacts inside, including a manuscript where the composers first wrote some lyrics for South Africa's national anthem, would be lost forever. Colors warned that both buildings were at risk of collapsing. The bitumen of the roof is even melting, indicating of the intense heat. There have been reports of some walls showing cracks which could indicate a collapse. The News 24 website quoted Carres as saying, J.P. Smith, the Cape Town official in charge of safety and security, said at least one floor of the old Assembly building was gutted and his entire roof had collapsed. The firefighters were now focusing efforts towards saving the National Assembly building, he said. While the old Assembly building was closely connected to South Africa's colonial and apartheid history, the National Assembly building was where former President F.W. de Klerk stood up at the opening of the Parliament in 1990 and announced he was freeing Nelson Mandela from prison and he effectively ending the apartheid system of white minority rule. The news electrified the country and reverberated around the world. Security guards first reported the fire around 6 a.m., it was Sunday morning. Sunday, Color said, and the 35 fighters initially on the scene quickly called for reinforcement. Cape Town activated its disaster coordinating team, which reacts to major emergencies. Police condoned over the complex and closed nearby roads. The lead said an investigation was underway into the cause of the blaze. Authorities were reviewing video camera footage and questioning the men arrested at the precinct. Parliament Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula cautioned against speculation that it was a deliberate attack on South Africa's seat of democracy. Until such a time that a report has been furnished that there was arson, We have to be careful not to make suggestion that there was an attack, she said. Ramaphosa and many of South Africa's top politicians were in Cape Town for the funeral Saturday of retired Archbishop Desmond Tutu at St. George's Cathedral, about a block away from the parliament. South Africans viewed the fires as a double blow on the first 2 days of the new year, after saying farewell to Tutu and then seeing their parliament burn. It's just really a terrible setback, Ramaphosa said. The Archduke would have been devastated as well. This is a place he supported and prayed for. South Africa has 3 capital cities. Cape Town is the legislative capital, as parliament is located there. Pretoria is administrative capital, where government officers are, and Bloemfontein is the judicial capital and hosts the Supreme Court. Cape Town has seen arson attacks before. A huge wildfire on the slopes of Cape Town's famed Table Mountains last year spread to buildings below and destroyed part of a historical library at the University of Cape Town, as well as other structures. A report concluded that fire was started deliberately. So that's what we have when it comes to the fire in Parliament. So as I told you, we are closing the year saying bye-bye to 2021 with the funeral, and then we're saying hello to 2022 with burning of the historical decision-making building in the country. So it's going down for real in 2022. But besides everything else, with the parliament burning and the passing on of our Archbishop, I just hope that we are safe on the roads. And as we have seen, that there's been too many road incidents along the way. And I know now people are rushing to get back to work. People are rushing to get back to school now. So people, let's just stay safe. And if you have to drive, you have to be the slowest one driving on the road. Drive slow. If you have to take a break and rest and just breathe, do so, because rushing to get where you want to get and end up dying, it's not worth it. So I think for today we are just going to do the 2 stories: the passing on of our arch and also the burning of the parliament. And we also know that the Zondo Commission is supposed to be giving out part 1 of the state captured commission reports, because people apparently we're not supposed to call it the Zondo Commission. It's the State Capture Commission report. So yeah. So that's what also has been happening, and people which believe in conspiracy theories already saying the reason why the parliament is burning is because somebody doesn't want those the Zondo finding or the Zondo Commission, the State Capture Commission report to be public, or they don't want us to find out what really happened. So that's also the other part which we're building with. And this year, we don't know whether our former president Zuma will be going back to jail again, because now I know for a fact that they are arguing in court that he was not supposed to have gotten a medical parole, apparently. But then he's out on medical parole, so we don't know, he might be going back to jail in 2022, or he's still going to be a free man. There's a lot which will be happening in the news this year. Some, news are always interesting. News is like the actual reality show update. So we'll see. Without wasting any time and blabbering, family, welcome to 2022. With me, Zoliswa, on XhosaChick TV. Hopefully this year we're gonna have fun, and we're gonna be constant on this channel. And from Thinking Things Tuesday, with our current affairs, we try to do our Archbishop Desmond Tutu's life but it was too much. We couldn't finish that one. And here I just decided to have some ice cream to just, it's summer. So all just want to say Happy New Year, family. Welcome back to the channel, and hopefully and we're sending our condolences to the Tutu family. But he was a man which has lived his life. So last time we were doing the last president of apartheid, and now we're doing another a archbishop which was very vocal when church used to work for the people. Because one thing I can tell you about Archbishop Desmond Tutu made normal people believe that the church is on the side of the people. The church is not there to exploit the people. Sometimes you need people in power to fight for you if you are powerless, and the church was that position where it was fighting for the people which were powerless. But nowadays, we don't really see the church being really active in cases of corruption, in cases whereby our leaders don't have accountability. We don't really see the church active now. We don't even know in this new South Africa what role does the church play. So for me, I'm not really sure after 1994 what role the church really plays in trying to be on the side of the people. Because now, whether you like it or not, the stories which you get when it comes to the church is miracle what you call it, your miracle prophecies, your miracle pastors. There's not much of good stories from churches now where the church is working with the people, where the church is the one which is confronting our leaders, is confronting the government for not taking care or for not keeping its promises. And I don't know what kind of a legacy would that Archbishop Desmond Tutu has left behind, because I kind of feel like it's unfair for people when they are still alive and they retire from public life. They take a seat back and they don't even get involved. Because I don't even remember, did he ever say anything about fees must fall? Did he ever say anything about free education? There has been a lot of, as much as he took a back seat from public life, but there's a lot of injustices which happened while he was still alive. But I wish he would have said something as a moral compass. But then there's been your fees must fall, whereby students have been shut down, and he knows very well when it comes to the history of black people and education, quality education, it hasn't been good. So I'm not judging anybody. Nobody's perfect. I'm not saying even I will say I've lived my life pure and perfect on this earth. But then I hope that whoever would want to be remembered as somebody which stood up for something, they won't take a retirement seat and just to be observers of everything going down in South Africa. We had from that time when our former president was in jail, the country going down, people looting shops. There was no moral compass. There was no moral voice. Even our leaders, don't even get me started when it comes to our president. I don't know when does our president put his foot down and say, people, we are not doing this. I don't know. But during that time, there was no kind of moral compass voice. I know, for example, your Archbishop Desmond Tutu was on retirement. What about the other bishops which are still active? Your Thabo Makgoba bishops as well. There's fees must fall. I know for a fact, yes, Bishop Thabo Makgoba has been involved in what you call it, what equal education and so on. But then I kind of feel like when the people need them the most, they are nowhere to be found. So how do we as the people go back and trust the church? How do we as the people put our hope back on the church again, whereby we feel like the church also doesn't really care about the poor and the vulnerable and the ones which have been exploited by those which are in power. So Yes, I understand. Our condolences to the Tutu family, and we said the country is sad, but then they must stop making people to go on retirement, and the people just leave us. And then when they are gone, we must remember how good they were. To us, it kind of feel like they died before they were even dead. Because if they can watch things happen and not react and not even go out there and shout at the leaders. So yeah, I hope whoever you will be our celebrated moral compass or our I don't know how to call it. Let's just call it our moral compass will be more vocal, will be more present, will speak will not be afraid to speak the truth, because we need people which can stand for the truth. We need people which know how to lead with conscious people, because if you don't have a conscious, you will forever screw God given children without even giving a damn, because you just don't have a conscious within you. Anyway, that's it for 2022. Hopefully we'll keep on with the channel. We won't miss days and months and come back again only when there's funerals to happen. So family, happy 2022, and hopefully this is the last time we're doing news about who passed away. So to Desmond Tutu's family, our condolences. May your soul rest in peace, or may your soul accommodate in peace. Too soon. Anyway, goodbye family. Happy 2022. Till we meet again, our Thinking Thanks Tuesdays with me, XhosaChick. Oh, please don't forget to subscribe, comment, share the channel, tell your friends about it. We're really looking forward into the growth this year with new family members. And yes, we're still gonna do something for all the other family members which have joined us even all this time, even if we don't know what we're doing. So thank you family, and happy new year.